Tito Garcia, BoxingSocialist.com. What's up?
All right.
What can you tell me about Tyson Fury's antics in the ring tonight, running around? You were talking to him a lot. What were you telling him?
Well, I warned him several times. I took a point, and in my 24 years as a pro referee, he's one of the dirtiest fighters I've ever had.
That's your quote right now? Tyson Fury's one of the dirtiest fighters you've ever seen in your 24 years as a pro.
Yeah.
What were you saying to his corner? I saw you arguing with his corner all night. It got pretty heated.
Arguing with him. What happened was the corner man came to me and said that he thought that I was favoring Cunningham because he says, "What's my problem?" I said, "No, you know."
Well, you guys were arguing pretty hard throughout the fight.
No, we weren't arguing. We just were doing a little discussion.
What about the point you took away?
Oh, the point I took away was for numerous violations: elbow, headbutting, shoulder.
So again, that's your quote. Tyson Fury is the dirtiest fighter you've ever seen in the history of your 24 career.
Of the fights that I've had.
That fight that you've had.
And I had Angel Glada 3 times. Quote that.
All right, quote it.
All right, please.
BoxingSocialist.com. Tito Garcia.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego Unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. A video from a few years ago surfaces where a referee called Tyson Fury one of the dirtiest fighters, actually the dirtiest fighter that he's ever refed for. It's not looking good. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, before I get started, we gotta smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I post daily content and, you know, debates, talks, live streams, cover fights, you know, a little bit of everything. Give you guys the news, opinion. So make sure you guys subscribe. Also, sign up for ESPN Plus below. The link is in the description box of all of my videos, and it does help the channel when you click on that link and sign up. ESPN Plus has a lot of content that they frequently update. You know, they have past fights, they have current fights with Top Rank, UFC, of course, docu-series like 30-30 and 30 for 30. And you can also get ESPN Plus as a standalone or bundle it. ESPN Plus with Hulu and Disney Plus, all 3 apps for one price of $12.99. Click on that link. It does help the channel grow in such a phenomenal way. So the clip you seen at the beginning was from a few years ago, and that was from the right after the Tyson Fury versus Steve Cunningham fight. And obviously with the different things going on with Tyson Fury, Glovegate, Farmergate, Martin Carefoot, these things resurface. Before I go too far in, I want to say rest in peace to Tito Garcia. He's the original uploader. He was someone that, see, I've been around for, he's from the Bay Area too, so, you know, I knew Tito, and he passed away. So rest in peace to him. But he was somebody, before some of you guys may have came into YouTube, who was just, you know, a frequent person. He covered fights and you know, gave his opinion and stuff in this digital space. So he was one of the early people, but he did pass, and that's the video is coming from him. So, you know, I want to send my condolences before we get started. Now, aside from the clip, Tito did and see, this was the one thing you guys don't, who are new, who maybe just joined the YouTube community, the boxing community a few years ago or something, you may not remember, but Tito was no filter and he was aggressive. Like I've seen, like, where he just, you know, you almost don't appreciate stuff like this when people are here. And then, you know, how do I say it? I guess you look at it like this. Sometimes when something is just the norm and it just is happening and it's in front of your face, you take it for granted, and you take it for granted until you don't have it, you know? And I think that's kind of how Tito's style was, because we wish there were more people doing what he did and reporting and fearless and asking, like he would ask promoters tough questions and go up straight to them, look them in the eye and not even flinch. And then now you look at boxing media, and this is, new media, we do this, but there's a lot of people in the media, they ask softball questions. They tiptoe and walk on eggshells, and, they laugh at all the person's jokes, like yes men behavior, like groupie behavior, so it just makes you appreciate it. But anyway, in this video, Tito got straight to the source, and somehow, some way, he spoke with the referee after covering the fight, Steve Cunningham versus Tyson Fury. And you guys seen the clip at the beginning. He literally said, Tyson Fury, he's got to be the dirtiest fighter that I've ever refereed for. Wow. The dirtiest. And then he made a point to state that, yeah, and I, like, just to add insult to injury or make it even more apparent, right? He says, I've reffed for Andrew Galata 3 times, and Andrew Galata was a notorious fouler, so this is a heavyweight division before a lot of your time, so I'm just going to give you guys the cliff notes. So Andrew Galata was notorious. He fought Mike Tyson, he fought Riddick Bowe, and it created a riot. You guys should see a clipping on the screen. A riot ensued because of low blows, and it got out of hand. But he was notorious back in the 90s, mid 90s, when he had his little run. He was notorious for, he got disqualified in, I think, two fights, maybe even more, but 2 major fights for fouling and stuff like that. So the fact that Eddie Cotton, the referee, made it a point to say Tyson Fury is dirty, right? And he's the dirtiest fighter that I've ever fought for, or that I've ever refereed for. That's pretty telling, because it's not like this was his first rodeo, if you know what I mean. And the thing with Eddie Cotton is he actually fought himself. Like, he actually boxed, which, I don't know everybody's background as a referee, but I know all the referees have not actually competed and fought. But Eddie Cotton is one of those referees who actually boxed as well. And he's from the East Coast, New Jersey or something. I'm not sure if he just retired or why he got out of the referee business. Maybe the money wasn't good enough. I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But you guys should see some images on screen. He has reffed 283 bouts. So it's not like he's a spring chicken and, he just reffed a couple fights and made his assessment. In fact, he's reffed Felix Sturm versus Sam Solomon. That fight took place in Germany. He's reffed several Vladimir Klitschko fights, including Alex Lepai and other Klitschko fights. He's refereed Matthew Macklin fights, and Matthew Macklin versus Darren Barker, Sergio Martinez versus Matthew Macklin. And a lot of some of these fights, like Darren Barker and Matthew Macklin, I don't have it all pulled up. This is off memory, but a lot of those fights happen in other places as well. So it's not like because the worst thing about it is when you talk about a person like Tyson Fury, you got to cover your tracks, because they say, oh, you silly cunt, you bloody yanks, and they want to make it look like this inherent bias for the American guy. So, oh, it's an American ref, so he's going to be biased. But again, Klitschko never really even fought in America until Bryant Jennings. So, the fights like Alex Lepai, I could pull up his whole calendar, but these fights didn't take place. Oh, Marius Weck, these are in Klitschko's second home of Germany. So it's not like he just stayed on the soil and only refereed American fights. Like, a lot of his bigger assignments actually came abroad, overseas. He's refereed for all the big names, just people who have been in boxing for the last, Gabriel Brisaro, Danny Jacobs, Vladimir Klitschko, Seth Mitchell when he was around, Jonathan Banks, who actually trained Klitschko and part of the Kronk gym, right? Gerald Big Baby Miller. He's refereed for everybody. Like I said, Matthew Macklin, Darren Barker, Sergio Martinez, and he was the ref for Tyson Fury, Steve Cunningham. He was the ref for Gennady, hey, no, guys, hey, Max, Triple G versus Macklin when he knocked him out, right? So with that being said, he has some experience. You know, Daniel Gill, Darren Barker. So he's worked with UK guys. He's done several Matthew Macklin fights. You know, I don't know how they ration out the assignments, but just know he's a well-traveled person. The Klitschko fights, Klitschko predominantly was fighting out of Germany. That's where he fought Tyson Fury and stuff like that. So the Klitschko fights that he ref were mostly out of Germany. Felix Sturm, Sam Solomon out of Germany. So now that we have his background, he's a credible ref, almost 300 bouts that he's officiated, and he's worked with tons of guys overseas, including Andrew Galata fights, right? So for him to make a note that Tyson Fury, out of all those people that he's Klitschko, Danny Jacobs, Gerald Big Baby Miller, Galata especially, you know, for him to say that the person that stands out in his mind as the most dirty is Fury, that's pretty shocking because, like I said, Andrew Galata, he's a Polish fighter from Poland, and that's a lot of his fights were he was hitting low, and he was known for that, like getting frustrated and these types of things, right? He has a fight with Mike Tyson, and like I said, you guys could do your research, but how you get disqualified in 2 fights back to back. He also fought Lennox Lewis, you know. So anyway, now that we've established former boxer turned referee Eddie Cotton's background, that's pretty shocking for him to say this. And what's done in the dark comes to light. I always say that on my channel. And now all this stuff is coming to pass. Now, in addition to the referee of the fight, Tyson Fury versus Steve Cunningham, saying he was dirty, I dropped a video. Shout out to Steve Cunningham. He did a demonstration and punched with full force, showing how he believes Tyson Fury's gloves were manipulated and the positioning of his hand was manipulated with no wrist issues or broken wrist, and he was punching on the heavy bag full force and did a full-fledged demonstration on record saying something was up. But before he got started with his demonstration, he made it a point to say, you know, I'm not saying this out of malice or to hate on anybody, because if anything, he said, I was on my way to beating Tyson Fury and I dropped him. He didn't say he dropped him, but he did drop him, Tyson Fury. So this was a cruiserweight fighting a big heavyweight. It looked like a big disparity in terms of height. So he says, why would I hate? You know, I was on my way to beating him and I dropped him. So I actually benefit from Tyson Fury leveling up, because now my loss to him, it doesn't look bad. I was a cruiserweight, still dropped him, and I was beating him. And he literally said in the video, I don't have no reason to hate because, and I'll put the video at the end of this video. He said, I have no reason to hate because the better he does, the better it makes me look, because everybody knows, and this is the important part. He said, everybody knows I was on my way to beating him before he did his dirty stuff. And this dirty stuff was leaning and grinding on Steve Cunningham. He was already a cruiserweight. And this is insane because you look at somebody who is almost 7 feet tall and got dropped hard by a guy who wasn't even an established heavyweight, who was on bad legs versus Amir Mansour when they fought. And yet he produced an early knockdown in Madison Square Garden. And the thing is, what's up with UK fighters coming to America and having the worst performances of some of their recent career, you know? And it makes me wonder, because I remember Dillian White and Gerald Miller, people who have failed drug tests, accused Joshua of being on 2s. And they literally were saying stuff like, oh, he's, you know, I know people in this industry and I know bodybuilders. This is what Gerald Miller said. He said, I know bodybuilders that haven't actually ballooned up and gained 20 pounds of muscle in the time that Joshua did in a year or two. And then Dillian White says the reason that AJ, this is all stuff you guys can Google and find these quotes and videos and interviews. Dillian White literally said that he said the reason Joshua lost is because he basically didn't have his supply pack, because it's harder to get and harder to pass off in America than it is in the UK. So it's just kind of ironic that Tyson Fury even came to America at the time, and that was his kind of first big fight that I remember in America, and he gets dropped in that fight. But beyond that, he's the guy that's much bigger, clearly bigger. Looks like they're not even in the same weight division. You would almost think that the guy who's a cruiserweight would be the one hitting low and doing whatever, kneeing him and rabbit punching and doing whatever he could to stay afloat and like try to win by any means necessary. But it was actually Tyson Fury who was leaning on him and, things like that, and doing a lot of rabbit punching. So it was pretty ironic that now you have Steve Cunningham, who just dropped a video saying his knuckles and his hands weren't properly in the glove, right? And he made it a point in the video to say, hey, I don't lose from Tyson Fury doing well. I'm a fan of the sport, so I'm giving you my honest assessment of what happened. And I was on my way to beating Tyson Fury before he did his dirty stuff. Now the video surfaces from Tito Garcia about the referee for that fight, and he's saying that Tyson Fury was the dirtiest fighter that he's ever fought. I mean, this is just getting crazy, and people want me to believe that Tyson Fury is this touched by an angel saint, And the other thing that's pretty, I don't really get shocked in boxing, but for lack of a better word, the thing that's pretty shocking when it comes to the boxing stuff is a lot of the referees won't go on record. You see what I'm saying? They'll take pictures with fans and stuff like that. But I've been at fights and seen Jack Reese, and normally myself or other media people would see a member of the sport and say, oh, okay, he refereed Wilder versus Fury, right? So let's hurry up and interview him, because that's what you do. You see Adrian Broner, and he's just out in the crowd for somebody else's fight week. You see Tank, and then you interview them. It's like a media scrum. But when it comes to referees, the operation is a bit different because nobody really interviews the referees. You notice these referees, I see Jack Reese all the time and Steve Willis and stuff at these fights because they're on assignment and they're passing by. You could probably try to yank them, but most referees, from in an effort to preserve their brand or like maybe appear neutral or whatever, a lot of them won't even give like any type of words or interviews or commentary because they don't want to be thought as like, oh, okay, he's leaning for this guy or whatever. So in the space of neutrality, then they won't really say much. So that's also pretty shocking if you think about it, that a referee felt so compelled that he just had to keep it a buck on Tyson Fury and say, man, this dude, one of the dirtiest fighters. It is what it is. One of the dirtiest fighters. So it's really not looking good for Mr. Tyson Fury because, I notice a lot of the Tyson Fury fans and the racist fans, they're saying stuff like, oh, the black guy got, your black boy got beat on African American Black History Month, stuff that like people are past that. The loss already took place. We have to talk about this. Allegations of Nandrolone with no alibi because Martin Carefoot backed out and says, guess what? I lied on official documentation. We got to talk about that. The loss is what it is. The loss is already done and happened. We got to talk about Glovegate. We got to talk about, these videos surfacing about what Tyson Fury, the misogyny and the things he said about homosexuality and Jewish people and, comparing certain protected groups to pedophilia. All these things aren't good if you're Tyson Fury right now. And not everybody would have these problems unless they have, throughout their career, conducted themselves in a certain way where now this stuff, when people are researching, comes back to haunt you. Like, I could guarantee you, I've been on this YouTube platform probably since, the Steve Cunningham Tyson Fury fight took place. I've been in the game for a minute. So with that being said, I have 8,000 videos or whatever I've uploaded. You could go to each and every one of them and you will never find me saying some of the harsh or, really questionable things that Tyson Fury, because that's not me. That's not my character. That's not how I was raised. So I've always maintained professionalism and conducted myself how I've been raised to conduct myself. So it's just ironic that these videos are surfacing and these commentaries, and it just doesn't stop. So I don't care about all these what the WBC said and Frank Warren said. Of course, they have an investment in him, so of course they're going to try to protect his brand right now. But why? And I don't even care about the Tyson Fury man fans who have this woe is me attitude where, oh yeah, you guys are just targeting him because he's a gypsy. Nobody really cares that he's a gypsy in America. I can't tell you how the experience is in the UK, but I know in America, a lot of Americans aren't even versed with gypsy culture. That's not an American thing. We don't really have gypsies that are roaming the streets of Chicago or San Francisco, Sacramento, California. It's just not, it's not really a known culture out here. So nobody in America even cares about that. We care about the truth. We care about a clean sport. We care about what happened with his gloves in the Wilder fight. And like I said, you guys could pretend to ignore this, but it's just the case files are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Why is Steve Cunningham saying he fought me extra dirty? And then the ref of the fight, the video surfaces where referee Eddie Cotton, who's worked, as I said, with Danny Jacobs, Gerald Miller. He said, I did 3 Andrew Galata fights. He's worked with Matthew Macklin, Sergio Martinez, other UK fighters like Darren Barker, who was on Sky, these various people. And he's labeling Tyson Fury as the #1 guy to watch out for when it comes to the dirty trickery, right? So it's not looking good. And in addition, you have people like sparring partners, Nick Asbury. Nick Asbury he just did an interview with Young Farrell, shout out to him, and he really went in. He said he found a metal egg weight in Tyson Fury's, spare pair of gloves that, he doesn't know if it was utilized, but why would there be an egg weight in the glove? That just looks suspect. But beyond the egg weight situation, he says the padding had been tampered with and removed, and they were trying to build Fury's confidence by battering sparring partners and stuff like that. And he ended up leaving and saying, you need to pay me my money. And they tried it. Then he played audio messages from then trainer Ben Davison, who sounded like he was threatening him, like, hey, do you want a problem? Stop telling people blah blah blah, you shut your mouth type of stuff. It's just none of this stuff looks good. And what makes this more appalling is Tyson Fury is considered a giant. If there was a super heavyweight division, Fury would be in it because he's too big. He's 6'9", and versus Wilder, he weighed 273. So it's almost like he had a mental breaking point where he got dropped by a cruiserweight in Steve Cunningham, and people were like, man, you didn't look so good in that fight. And he got tired of being this big show Shaquille O'Neal sized person without the dynamics of the Big Show, Kane, Kevin Nash, Shaquille O'Neal, because those guys in their respective sports, wrestling or basketball, they're all known as giants, like The Undertaker, Kane, Kevin Nash, The Big Show, Andre the Giant. They're all known in the wrestling world as, whoa, these guys are powerhouses. Shaquille O'Neal, Blue Chips, Shaq Fu, he's known as a powerhouse center, So it's like almost like Tyson Fury got tired of people saying, oh, your fight with Klitschko was boring and this, that, and the third, and took matters into his own hand to give himself an unfair advantage, and came up with these tactics or whatever. His glove bending, still unexplained. Yeah, you can have a million debunked videos, but nobody's debunked that. And then you have other people like George Groves from the UK, Caucasian. Like, see, this is the problem with the Fury situation. There's no rhyme or reason to who's saying whatever they're saying. The people who are actually speaking on it and opening up, there's no rhyme or reason. George Groves, a balding Caucasian guy from the UK, a bit younger. Then Nicholas Asbury, African-American, sparring partner, doesn't have the same amount of fights as George Grove, from America. Then you have Martin Carefoot, a 70-year-old Caucasian British fighter from Lancaster, and he's a pig farmer who doesn't have nothing to do with boxing, and he's saying this, Then you have the glove gate. Then you have Steve Cunningham, who credibility-wise, he said he's been boxing since 1996. He served in the U.S. Navy. We don't know of Steve Cunningham. He's a father. I see him. He follows me. We follow each other on social media. So he's a father who takes care of his kids, because I see that. He served in the U.S. Navy, so that's admirable. So why is just everybody out to get Tyson Fury? Where there's smoke, there's fire, and it's looking crazy right now. You really have a referee saying that this is the dirtiest fighter, worse than Galata. Insane. So either way, Wilder Fury 3, if it happens, is bigger, because all this drama and stuff is going to lead to ticket sales, and people are going to feel like they can't miss it, and they want to know if it actually happens. They're going to want to know. And the great thing I like about new media creating this spotlight is all we want is fair. All we want is equality. All we want is equal rights for fighters, no matter your skin color, your race, religion, gender, creed. You know, it has to be across the board. There's a lot of people in the powers that be that think they run the game, but the fans run the game. We're the ones that put money in everybody's pocket. We pay for pay-per-views. We pay to support and buy merchandise. We're the ones that show up at meet and greets and, you know, show up at weigh-ins making noise and things like that. We buy the pay-per-views. We buy the apps. Like, we're the ones that run this whole game. And Digital Mob, I told you. It looks like it's getting worse before it gets any better, but that's the part, you know, before your wound heals, it has to scab over, and that's what it's happening for Tyson Fury. It's just a lot of stuff, and I expect more stuff to possibly come out, more odd, erratic behavior, and this is the liability that ESPN and Top Rank and everybody has just assumed dealing with Tyson Fury. You could have looked at before you even signed on and got into bed with him, you know, the proverbial got into bed and did business with him. You could have looked at his jacket and then kind of seen this coming because of certain ways he's lived his life. We'll leave it at that, you know. And now all this stuff is coming around, and they're trying to make it like white fighters, you know, I'm seeing all this stuff, reverse racism and stuff, making it like white fighters are so persecuted in the sport. You know, things like that. Oh, you guys are angry because a white man's on top. Like, you know, you're seeing all kinds of crazy stuff. But don't let that distract you, because it has nothing to do with him being white and on top. Because at the end of the day, if he could scrap, he could scrap. It has something to do with underhanded and dirty tactics and illegal tactics and Glovegate and the farmer now withdrawn and recanting. I mean, this has nothing. How are you going to scream reverse racism and the farmer who's accusing him of one said crime is Caucasian and he's from the same area, Lancashire? So where's the racism in that? Why? So the pig farmer's racist against his own kind? Somebody who's from Tyson Fury was born in Lancaster or that area, right? So what is the pig farmer? That's what I'm saying. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's no rhyme or reason. So you have a referee, Eddie Cotton, who boxed. He ain't never said this about Klitschko. And Klitschko does little subtle dirty things. Subtle. Like sometimes push off with his elbows. Little subtle things. But for a ref to actually come out and say, yo, this person, they just all the way. That means you're doing something that is so flagrant and so obvious to their eyes that they felt compelled to just keep it real and keep it a buck like a dollar store. And speak on you and say, hey, man, this man is crazy. This dude, he just making up his own rules. It's not a good look. And you could hear all the distractions from Tyson Fury protectors or man fans or whatever, but they're not answering the simple questions that we're presenting. New media, we unpacked.
Hey, what's up, Stevie? This is Cunningham here to quickly demonstrate what you're looking at in the Tyson Fury video with the gloves. They seem to be flopping. His hands seem to not be in them. I believe they're not in them. I'm going to demonstrate that. Number one, this is not me being a hater. I'm not hating on Tyson Fury. Every time he wins and he becomes the best or the top heavyweight, which he is today, that makes me look good because people know I was on my way to beating him before he did his illegal moves to KO me. So also, this is about love, not hate. I'm not hating on Fury. I love the sport of boxing. No matter who it was, I will be bringing up this video. or doing this video, bringing up this issue. So let's go on with what this whole thing is about. These gloves are the same similar style leather gloves that Tyson Fury wore. These are 10-ounce gloves. Tyson Fury wore 10-ounce gloves. I saw videos done by, I think it was the Mayweather gym. There were a few fighters there, and they were demonstrating the whole situation on the bag with gloves. Those are like 16-ounce, 18-ounce gloves, bag gloves. These are 10-ounce fight gloves. See how soft they are, all right? Also, we see the video, we see the picture, or what started me off was the picture. I let this stuff go on for about a week, and before I said anything, because I thought it was bull. But then I really looked, and I saw the video, and you're seeing the glove flop back. You're seeing it flop back. It's even hard to do it right now. But in the picture, the glove is about like here, throwing a hook. So one, who throws a hook? Who throws a hook like this? Slapping a hook. Nobody. No one's taught to slap a hook like that. Why is Tyson Fury throwing a hook like this, especially at that level of boxing? So this is exactly what he's doing. And I got my hand in the 10 ounce. This is my hand fully in. All right? I'm going to throw the hook. All right? Now, in the Mayweather video, they said, you can't, man, I can't throw the hook. It hurts my hands if it's pulled down. Tyson Fury is literally pulling down in the fight. At some point, he's pulling down his hand. He's letting his hand slip down to here, so where the knuckles are not protected by any padding. So now he's landing, as you see in the video footage or the pictures, he's landing the shot on the chin with this part of the glove where there's no padding. What he gets out of that is you get basically almost a skin on bone to an extent with just this thin layer of leather. So they were saying you can't throw a left hook without hurting your hand. I'm going to demonstrate it full force. This is my hand is right there in the wrist. That's as hard as I can throw it. All right, you want to get on the other side?
Yep.
Also, when you look at the picture, smooth this. Also, when you look at the picture or the video, you see the glove wrap around Deontay Wilder's ear. It's like, why is he slapping it like that? Who opens their hand and throws a hook? Who does that? He's not throwing it with his hand all the way in the glove. That's why it's happening. It's looking like that.
Throw it again. I want to see it from this side.
So I'm going to throw it with my hand in the knuckles, right here. That was a hard shot. It didn't hurt my hand. You got to realize, also, when you're in a fight, you're fighting in a world championship fight, any fight, you have adrenaline that's pumping like crazy. So you're not feeling any pain. If winning the world championship, the heavyweight world championship is at stake, I take a little pain, but that didn't even hurt. Next is, I want to bring out the fact of the flick jab. I'm not even disputing the flick jab. That's not an issue. I came up with Chris Bird. He the master of the flick jab. You know what I mean? That's the flick jab. That's the flick jab. Right there. What Tyson Fury is doing, what I'm disputing, is the hook. There is no way you're throwing a flick hook. All right? When he threw the hook, with his force, the glove was literally back here. Back here. No one has yet explained that. Everybody always diverts to the flick jab. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe Tyson Fury is sliding his hand down to get the advantage of hitting harder. The punch is landing from the knuckles or the hand wrap and just this thin layer of leather and not the padding, all right? Take it as you will, Tyson Fury fans. That's what it looks like that man is doing. USS Cunningham out.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.